in the beginning of my tricking career, I was having a hard time like on my style, and that's very funny because that's something maybe that when I got better at tricking, that's something that I get the most compliments on.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a world-renowned tricking legend. Please welcome to the JAMCast, Rasmus Ott. What's up, man?
Hello.
Dude, thank you so much for making the time to do this. You're one of our most requested guests, and I know the time difference is crazy. What city are you currently in right now?
I'm in Aarhus, which is like the middle of Denmark, something called Jutland. So yeah, it's 1945. Or 7:45 here in Denmark. Yeah, we say 19, yeah.
I appreciate you making the time, man. I know more than anything, like you've had like a busy life pretty much like your entire career, but like you're recently a father as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. My daughter slept, fell asleep, I think 30 minutes ago. So yeah, this was pretty tight, but yeah, I made it work.
I appreciate that. And how old is your daughter at this point? I saw her in one of your recent Instagram clips.
She is 1 year and 7 months right now.
Amazing. Yeah. And do you have any...
She's small, but she's getting big, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally, man. And do you have any intentions of teaching her how to trick eventually, or will that be up to her decision?
I mean, of course, it's up to her, but I can already see that she's very fond of moving, so I hope that she, at some level, maybe starts doing some sort of tricks. Maybe not tricking, but just, whatever, dancing or skateboarding or whatever, yeah.
That is super cool, man. That's super cool. And now, obviously, like, you're one of our most requested guests because, for so long, you've just been this pivotal figure in tricking. And what's kind of crazy is this is our first, I think, official time that we've, like, actually spoken. I was trying to fly you out to the Jam Gathering end of last year, which would have been insane. But, yeah, it's so cool to finally, like, sit down and have this talk with you, man. You're one of the few people who, like, across the board, people from Anish Sherfa to Daniel Graham, like, we all name you as people that we watch religiously, and it's pretty surreal, man, to finally see you here.
Well, I'm excited to see you as well. I'm excited to be here on the podcast. I'm not very how can you say, active in the tricking community because I'm so busy doing a lot of stuff. But my heart still at some point beats for tricking. So I'm glad that maybe somebody finds this interesting. So yeah, I'll do whatever I can to make it interesting to hear about.
I appreciate that, man. And at this point in your life, like I know you're a little removed from tricking, but I still see you post videos here and there and stuff like that. How long have you officially been tricking for, and when did you officially start your journey?
Well, I think officially I started tricking when I knew what tricking was, at least in 2005. But before I started, I was able to do backflip and X to aerial. I don't know why I was able to do X to aerial. I didn't know what it was. I was just able to do it. But officially 2005, but I've been able to flip since maybe 2004, beginning of that or something like that. Yeah, I was jumping a lot on trampoline and stuff and breakdancing before that. So I was fond of moving before I started tricking.
Okay, that's super cool. And so how long were you breakdancing and doing these other sports for?
I started dancing when I was a little kid, when I was around 8 years old. And then I started breakdancing when I was around 10 or 11 or something like that. Okay. It wasn't because I was extremely good at it. I was just, I thought it looked cool. And then I also, when I was 6 years old, I was at this special elite gymnast team, but I couldn't flip there. It was only like doing all these gymnastics movements, like going to the splits and lifting in the rings and stuff like that, gymnastics before that, yeah.
That's super cool. And do you remember...
I've always been active like my whole life, but tricking, specifically tricking since 2005.
And do you remember what it was that like got you into tricking, or what finally, inspired you to start specifically training that style of movement?
Yeah, I did. I started actually the first thing I started at was parkour. Right before tricking, 1 year before tricking, I heard about parkour. I don't know actually how I heard about parkour. Oh yeah, it was actually just a friend of mine. I was doing flips on trampoline, and then a friend of mine knew parkour, and I thought it sounded cool, and I started doing that. And then maybe 1 year of doing parkour, I heard about tricking, and then I just completely stopped parkour, and I was like, this is what I want, and I just became extremely obsessed with it. Yeah, so it was through a friend. I found out about parkour, and then it was through another friend that I found out about tricking. And then I found this Danish forum website, like we had tricks tutorials in the old days. We also had a Danish website where we could chat with other trickers and stuff. And I found other Danish people doing tricking, and they helped me a lot, and taught me all these moves, and showed me all the things you could do. I didn't know anything, so it's like, what's a B twist? What is a cork? What is all the things that you wonder when you start tricking.
We're pretty lucky that we got you though, because I know like in Europe, parkour is such a prevalent sport as opposed to tricking that it, even to this day right now, I feel like it's got a way larger population of practitioners and stuff. So, on behalf of your friend, thank you for introducing you. That's pretty wild, man. And so back in the days when you first like got obsessed with tricking, like how often were you training, and where were you training at? Were you in gyms and stuff, kind of like you mentioned you had access before, or were you outside on the grass like most of your samplers are?
Yeah, I was outside on the grass. Like I tried stuff on my trampoline, my garden trampoline. I had a trampoline in my garden. Like that's common in Denmark. I think it's common in a lot of places, but in Denmark it's like there was this trampoline era. I don't know how many trampolines there's actually left in Denmark now. But at that time there was very many trampolines around Denmark, and I had one in my garden. So I was just trying stuff there, and then just trying it on the grass, and I was just training basically just every day. And then I started getting access in my hometown. I started getting access to a gym where I could like get this little corner of the spring floor where I could be, where all the gymnasts, they could just push me away whenever they want. And I was just in this little corner, just, and I had one friend that I trained with. And then after a while, I found another friend, and we were like 3 from my city who was training together. And then very soon I started going to Danish gatherings and stuff, because there was actually a lot going on in the tricking community in Denmark before I started. So I had the luxury to just like enter that community and be a part of it, and just, enter all the gatherings and stuff like that. So that was a very big luxury to me when I started tricking.
That's super cool, man. I definitely like wasn't aware of the scene over there in Denmark. Were there guys that you looked up to locally in the scene over there, and who were they? So maybe we could like try to look up some old videos of them and take a look.
Yeah, especially. I mean, we had one of the oldest, I would say, exclusively tricking teams in Denmark was something called Team Gravity Tricks. And they had like these 2 twins, who was like these tall guys with ponytails doing a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, we have they were just doing like B-twist corks and stuff, and I was just going crazy about it. And there also was some kids called Multi-Level Kids, which was like inspired by Joe Iger, and they were also like doing hyper twists. And I remember I just really looked up to them and thought they were very cool. And of course they were my my easiest go-to people when I needed to ask, how do you do that, or how do you. So I wrote a lot to them on Messenger, MSN, like that was what we chatted on back then. MSN. And I spoke to them, and I wanted to meet up with them, and I think only 6 months after I started meeting up with those people like around in Denmark, and just suck everything I could out of them, of tips and whatnot. So yeah, it was a fun time, very magical.
That is super cool, man. And now you kind of mentioned that like you started to like get the chance to interact with these people and stuff like this. Have you always been someone that prefers training in group settings, or did you mostly train alone? And I only ask that because a lot of the videos I see of you, with the exception of some gym clips, it mostly seems like you're just out there with a camera on a tripod and stuff like that.
I mean, later on, I learned how to enjoy being by myself. But in the beginning, I was very hungry for information because I didn't know how to do all these moves, and I really wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn fast. And I also learned very fast. I mean, the first time one told me how to do a corkscrew, I actually did a very, very ugly corkscrew that day. And some weeks by, I did cork to cork, and the next day I did cork to cork to cork. So I was just like, I was really, really hungry for getting to talk with people that could teach me something. Because, but then later on, when I was able to train a little bit more by myself, I learned how to enjoy having sessions alone as well. Not that I don't enjoy having a session with a group of people, but it's just a luxury that if you're able to session by yourself, then you're sort of independent. Then you can just train whenever you want, and I was happy to train on grass as well. So that's also just gives me freedom to train whenever I want. I mean, in Denmark it's raining a lot, so that's of course that sets some limits. But I mean, later on I really enjoyed to train by myself.
Okay. That makes sense from the videos. And so, like, with that being said, I know you mentioned that you had like a little background in breakdancing and stuff like that. Did you ever pick up any form of structured martial arts during your time of tricking, or were all of your kick tricks just learned through practicing over time?
Yeah, practicing. I mean, if you look at my old videos, I mean, it's not really very hard to see that my kicking is really the thing I've worked most on, because in the beginning my kicking was just, I mean, it was not kicking. I don't know what I was doing. I was just trying something. That's the thing about tricking, the beauty about tricking. If you don't have like martial arts background or gymnastics background or whatever, you're gonna look very stupid in the beginning. And at least I paid that price. I mean, I looked very stupid for a great period of time, I would say, with my kicks at least. My flipping was a little bit better, and my twisting a little bit as well. But I mean, I was in the beginning of my tricking career, I was having a hard time like on my style, and that's very funny, because that's something maybe that when I got better at tricking, that's something that I get the most compliments on. But like in the beginning, also at tricks tutorials like the international forum, when I started like making a little bit of a name of myself, something that I was really critiqued on was my style in the beginning. But maybe that also motivated me to like really focus on my style. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's like a perfect transition, man, because that's literally, like I said, one of the things that I think you're most renowned for worldwide amongst top tier trickers and everyone in the community is your unique style and the way that you link transitions together that a lot of people don't necessarily see. Like when you trick, I'm never able to guess your combos. Whereas when I watch a lot of other people trick, I'm like, oh, I know what's about to happen right now, or I know what they're going to end with. So how would you personally define your tricking style if you're able to in words? And what do you think influenced that as far as like picking out these transitions and things like that?
I mean, I've been tricking for so long that it's very hard to define my own style, because it just comes so natural to me how to develop combos. I mean, I'm very glad that you say that, but for me, it's like I always know what I'm gonna do. I mean, I try to break out of like this box that I created for myself, and hopefully for the viewer and the tricking audience, you could see that I really try my best to get as much as like the spectra of tricking as possible into my combos. I mean, that's at least my goal. And also, I think I was born in an era of tricking where it was really important to like have it all, you know, totally. Have kicking, have flipping, have twisting, and combine it. Where maybe a little bit more, if you started to tricking today, you maybe start noticing what you're good at and you just follow that path. And I think that's a very good idea as well. But I think some of my style is also because of the era that I was born to, that it was really important for me to like have a bit of it all, like have the whole package. And that's maybe also what I'm trying to do when I'm comboing, is like try to not just do like stock combos, but make it unique and make it worthwhile, and try to surprise myself, even like try to do something that's special for me, and that's combines a little bit of everything. I mean, I can't really say it much clearer. I'm just trying to do something that I think is very cool and is not just a stock combo or a standard combo or something you have seen 100 times before. Not to say that everything you have to do has to be something completely new or completely, but just a little bit of a new flavor to it, or a little different feeling or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've all seen cheat 900 hook touchdown raise something, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's refreshing to see your combos. And like along the lines of that, like how do you, like you kind of mentioned it, that you try to surprise even yourself, but how do you formulate combos? We've talked to some guests on here that say they like write down combos ahead of time and then go to the gym and try to get them off a checklist. Do you do the same thing, or are you someone that's more spontaneous when you're at the gym sessions based on how you're feeling?
I mean, it depends. If I'm working on a sampler on grass, I'm very methodic. I know what I want, and I have it written down. And it's not like what I do then is like the exact thing that's like written down on the note. Maybe it's just the first two tricks is the same, but then one of the tricks is too hard, so I downscale it a little bit to be able to do it. Or maybe I find another ending that I like a little bit more, or that flows a little bit more when I try it on, because it's also very important for me, the feel of the combo. Sometimes when you write it down, you it's like a hypothesis.
Yeah, totally.
And then when you try it out in practice, like when you try it actually physical, trying it, maybe it feels different, and maybe even that day it feels different, so you can feel that, okay, I need to do this instead of this or something. So I kind of like just modify the combo a little bit, and then hopefully I end up with a result that I'm happy with. And to answer the other question, when I'm just at the gym, I mean, it's not like I'm this artist that everything I do is just special. And I also just do cheat 9 hook touchdown raise double cork at the gym, just to practice. I mean, I also need to practice just like everyone else. So it depends whether I'm filming for something specifically or I'm just training. Yeah.
Okay. Was there ever a move, or a move maybe still at this point, that was like extremely difficult for you, or something that you have always chased that you never were able to achieve? Or were you always just, finding moves within your realm of style, I guess, if that makes sense?
No, I mean, I'm not more special than anyone else. I mean, in my late career, before I got Sun, I was chasing. I was exploring the power, because earlier I was not able to do that much power because I had jumper's knee, so that set some limits for me. And my jumper's knee started to get better, so I was like, yeah, I gotta get that dubbed up, and I got it. And it was like a big thing for me, and for everyone else it was just like, yeah, dubbed up is just standard now. But it was like a personal thing for me. I know that it's not something that's gonna blow everyone away, but it was just like, for me, I grew up in a time where double cork to double cork was this big thing, and I wanted that thing as well. And I also tried to get the triple cork, but I was never able to get the triple cork. But I'm just like everyone else. I also want the big moves, but I also know that's not what I'm good at. I mean, if I need to impress the most people I can. That's not what I'm going with, like attempting a triple cork. Yeah. So, I try, as I said, I want the whole package. So of course I'm also exploiting the things that I'm not very good at, and some of those moves I didn't get. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's cool. I think that'll be great for some of our audience to hear that, someone like yourself was still chasing stuff. I saw some of the triple corks attempts on your Instagram and things like that, so I just had to ask. And then you kind of just alluded to it earlier with your jumper's knee. I remember when you put out your sampler called Facts. That was kind of like your injury sampler. And what happened? What happened specifically during that? Was that still jumper's knee, or was it a more extensive injury?
I mean, the jumper's knee is like a rabbit hole that goes so deep. It's just like, it's just been around forever. Like in my whole career, I think it's just, on and off and on and off. At this point, it's chronic, so it will never go away. And it wasn't away, but you could do things so it's better, and so it's, manageable. And I learned over the years how to control it. And I learned, to listen to my body, when to stop and when to push and stuff like that. But in the beginning, back in, I don't even know when it started, maybe 2007. When was Facts? 2007, 8, something like that. Yeah. I was really starting to get momentum in tricking, like really pushing. And I felt like, I'm just right there in the elite of the tricking community. I felt like also in the power department of things in tricking, I was like, yeah, I can have an impact here. So it was just really a bummer for me to have the jumper's knee, because it just set so many limitations for me, because I just couldn't push through with the tricks that I really wanted to. Swing throughs especially was something that I almost didn't do for a pretty long period of time. But, at the same time, my jumper's knee is also the thing that maybe has had a voice in creating my style. It also have an impact of, why I'm tricking the way I'm tricking today. It's not only because of that I have this vision of how I want to trick. It's also sometimes what you see is also just getting around my jumper's knee. Some of the combos is you know what I mean? Sometimes limitations just creates new creative ways to move as well. And injuries is like that as well, or can be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's almost like out of necessity of protecting yourself, you start to go in a different direction and maybe do moves and transitions that you weren't thinking of. And now just for kids out there that are listening and other members of our community, I know jumper's knee is something that's actually like quite common amongst people that trick and stuff like that. What did you do to deal with it? Or do you have like any advice on stuff that has helped you like over the years to overcome it? Or do you think it's just time resting that's the most beneficial?
Yeah, I went to physiotherapists with it, and I got this shock wave where you actually like put shock waves into it, so you kind of tear all the stuff down so it can like naturally heal itself. But none of that really went very well. I think what helped me the most is just slow squats and then activating my glutes. I think activating my glutes was like the thing that really helped the most. Just making sure that my glutes was always active when I was tricking, because when I became tired, I was more depending on my thighs. I don't know if this makes sense. I have a very big language barrier right here because physio and talking about the body, but I hope you understand. But activating the glutes, and I actually was talking with maybe a former tricking martial arts guy. It's very embarrassing that I can't remember his name, but I was like writing back and forth with him, and he sent me these different exercises, and I did some of them, and some of them worked. And it was, some of it helped, but it's not like there was one thing helped. It was, a lot of things. Also just eating lemons every morning, and keeping hydrated, and sometimes before a session, I had these like bands that I rubbed around my knee. Like if this is my knee, I rubbed it very tight here and here, and then took it off. So you had all the blood running through to sort of like force a very good warm up before I even warmed up. So yeah, a lot of stuff. I've been through it all.
No, it makes a lot of sense what you said about the glutes, because I'm actually just right now, I'm 2 months removed from a torn MCL and a fractured kneecap, a fractured tibia capsule. And the one thing that my physical therapists are doing more than anything is building up my glutes. They're like obsessed with me doing 2 hours of drills a day to build up my glutes. And they said that more than anything, it'll help alleviate pressure. But also, I think a lot of people take for granted when they think that the core is the center of your body, which it is, but your glutes are also like the center of your body from like a distribution standpoint. So they said it's like absolutely key. So that makes a lot of sense what you did.
Maybe this is not as relevant right now because all of the very small Japanese is like taking over the tricking game. But back in the days, we used to say like, if you have a big butt, you have potential for tricking. The big butt, if you look at Velu's butt, Daniel Graham's butt, Seshumaru's butt, all of those guys, they have a big booty. That's the straight road to success. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be a soundbite that people are going to remember for the rest of JAMCast history. Oh man, well, that's awesome, man. And along the lines of that, like back in the days when you were tricking and really like, training every day, like you said, were you doing like a very routine stretching or maintenance routine, or like as you've gotten older, have you focused a little bit more on that? And what do you do if you do?
I have to be honest here. When I started, I did no conditioning, no warm up, no nothing. It was just hard on every day, just trying to do like crazy stuff. And that's also, why I got the jumper's knee, I think, is just because, I was just young and, we when we started, we were just anarchists, we had no one older to say, even the old guys in Denmark that I know, they weren't doing the warm-up as well, they weren't like physiotherapists or whatever. They were just like me, just have been doing it for a little while. So yeah, I just trained recklessly. And then as I got older, I've tried to do some conditioning, but honestly, it's not the most amusing thing for me to do. It's very boring for me. I hate being in a gym, like not a tricking gym, but like a weightlifting gym. It's very, you can see my arms, I'm not a pump guy. It doesn't interest me at all. So it's something that I've done, because I really have to, not something that I've enjoyed doing. So in the beginning, nothing, and when I got older, a little bit, but I as little as I could get away with, I would say. That's the honest answer.
It's good though. It's good to have honesty on here, because we get a range of answers, and it's cool for kids to hear a different opinion, so they don't think like,
But my opinion is that of course, you should do the conditioning, you should do the lifting, you should do everything, you should do, But for me, it was very hard, and it is still very hard because it's very boring. Yeah, that's so but funny. With a podcast or with a sound book or something, it helps a little bit.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, man. And like you've always been someone that, like I mentioned in the past, like you're someone that everyone around the world, it just constantly watches your samplers. You have insane amounts of views on some of them. I even know at one point you had to re-upload a bunch of different samplers. Of all of them, is there one in your mind that stands out as your favorite, or maybe like the most rewarding over your tricking career? Like personally, one of my favorites is Cut the Grass. I love that one for some reason. It stands out as one of my favorites. But I was just curious if there's one in your mind that is your favorite.
I don't know. I think for the majority of people, what samplers they would mention is like Cut the Grass and Source. I think maybe if you're a little bit older, you would say something like Oddfather, if you're very old school, but I don't really know because, if I have a favorite or not. maybe I'm biased because, you know, it's like asking a musician, like, what's your favorite album? He will always go with the most recent, you know. It's like, why do you want to hear the greatest hit that I wrote back in the 80s, you know? And all the people are like staying like, yeah, sing that song. And I'm like, no. Do you know do you know what analogy I'm trying to
Totally.
replicate? Yeah. So I mean, I'm maybe a little bit biased, but I think Root, like the recent pure grass sampler that I've made, is the one that I really worked hardest on, and will maybe have a little bit of a special place in my heart, because it was a big accomplishment for me to make that sampler, and I've really put in a lot of work in that sampler. So when I look at that, I'm like, that was good. That was like a vision that I saw, like, came true in some ways. So I think right now that's my favorite, but maybe 10 years from now I would look back and maybe have, you know, another favorite.
Okay. That makes sense. And when you're shooting these samplers of yours, what's the process like? How long does it take for you to actually get the footage where you're happy enough? Is it like a process of a couple weeks or a couple months? And how long until you're actually satisfied when you're like, okay, this is good enough for me to release as a sampler from myself?
Depends, because I also think I release a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of different qualities of my samplers. It's not like, you know, every sampler has this very, very high standard. I think there's, you know, sometimes I also just, all the good training clips that I've had from the gym over a season, I cut that together and release it, and I don't see that as a you know, as this big piece. It's more just like a scrapbook or something like that. So, but for the samplers that I really put time into, it can, I mean, it's different, because sometimes it's very hard to collect clips. I mean, when I created Root, for example, it was like in the beginning of spring, when I could start tricking outside, to like the when I couldn't trick outside anymore. So like from May to September or something like that, because I just wanted, and I also switched a lot of clips out from that sampler. So that is the longest. But sometimes in the winter, you know, I have a sampler that goes from, you know, from autumn to spring, just the whole gym season, and I just, you know, release the best of those clips. So it's hard to say, but usually like a half year or something like that. But sometimes it can be sooner if you know, there's this gathering and I just, you know, make a lot of cool combos there, then you already have that much footage. So yeah, it's different, but it's never more than a half year, I would say.
Okay. And as someone that everyone in the community has, you know, has their eyes on and watches, is there anyone specifically that you used to watch back in the days? And then two-part question, do you still watch the current community with what's going on right now?
Like back in the days, my big idol has always been Seshumaru, Sean Ellis. I mean, I almost want to say I owe that guy everything. I mean, and I also think that it's very important for tricking, at least, because, you know, tricking is a sport that just moves so fast, so it's so easy to like forget our past heroes. So it's also very important for me to say that Seshumaru, I've watched everything of him, and I've been really inspired by him. Not that we have the same style or anything, it's just like someone that I really loved, and I replicated him back in the days, but then, you know, at some point you start doing your own thing. But that's someone who I really looked up to. And then also, you know, all the loop kicks guys, you know, Annie's, Daniel Graham, and all the old school guys, also Manny Brown, I've watched a lot from him. And then, of course, you know, all the current trickers that was tricking around the same time as me. You know, I was also looking at them, but it was like with a different way you're looking at them, because they're not your heroes. They're more like your fellow, you know, the same era you're in, you're like fellow tricking partners. Or, you know, some of them I didn't know, but, you know, Teddy, I was training a lot with him, and I also looked a lot of what he was doing, and we were training a lot together. And also Velu, of course, Dan Pitlock, all of those old guys from back in the days. But currently, I'm looking at Instagram sometimes, and I see something, and it's like, whoa, that's crazy, and then I just scroll past. It's so embarrassing because I can't even like name all the new Japanese. I mean, of course, I know Jose. Everyone knows Jose. And I follow a little bit, but it's not like I follow strictly. But I follow the Instagram, and we have like a little group on Instagram with me and some other old Danish trickers, and we post clips to each other once in a while when we see something crazy. But it's also a different way of watching tricking. Back in the days, you were watching like this whole 3-minute, 4-minute video of just one specific trigger and really get a good idea of what this guy is capable of and where he's maybe lacking a little bit. And in Instagram, you're just like watching this crazy combo in 10 seconds or something, and that's the idea maybe you get from him. That's maybe someone I've never seen trick before. I just see him doing this crazy combo that ends with a triple cork split or something like that, and I'm like, wow, that was crazy. So it's a different experience watching tricking these days.
Yeah, 100. I agree with you. It went from a sampler, era to now it's just short form content where it's like 10-second banger and then you just move on to the next one, That's crazy, man. That's super cool. And one of the things that I've always wanted to ask you about too, and I was curious like how it had an impact upon your early roots of tricking was, and this is like kind of a well-known fact for people that have been around the community forever, but back in the days you had a successful career outside of tricking in the musical scene. And I think that back in 2002 is when you won that contest, right? I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. So you can maybe say how to pronounce that show. But I know back in 2002 you won a contest and you had a song out that was Kick Flipper. And at that point, like how long had you been doing music for, and how long was your career as a musical artist, would you say?
I mean, from 2002 to 2003 or 4 or something like that, and then I stopped. I mean, I was a very little child. And then I think it was 1 year after that. 1 year after I stopped singing, that was when I maybe started tricking. I think it was like that, but it was actually I had like a tour manager who was traveling around with us making show, and he was a former gymnast. So he threw us around in backflips because we just thought it was fun. I mean, we were small kids. I was 12 years old. I was very, very little. I just thought it was fun. But yeah, maybe he has a little say in the start of the tricking as well. Yeah.
I was just curious how the timeline matched up with when you started tricking and when you quit, and I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, when I won the competition was 3 years before tricking, I think, and maybe 1 year after I stopped singing. I think, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious, like, and I was just wondering because, as you know, when you're on tour and doing stuff like that, it takes away from your life completely in general. So I was just curious if it had any effect. But yeah, it's cool to know that predated your actual tricking career. Okay. Yeah. All right, awesome. And along the lines of that, like, I know that like over the years, you've kind of like still maintained certain like, for lack of a better term, like involvement in entertainment. In 2016, I saw like photos of you doing a circus. And what was your involvement in that? Like, what was your role and what did you do?
When I was doing my master's at the university, and also maybe a little bit before that, I got a job as a host at this Danish TV channel for very small kids, and I would just do, kid stuff with them. I have like this program where we did a little bit of a gymnastics movement for them, with a story involved with it as well, and slow TV where we would like dress up as crazy people and run around. It's children's TV. It's very, very funny, but it's also very hard to explain. But the circus is like with all some of the people from that children's channel, they go and they make a circus, which is very weird because the majority of these people can't do anything circus-like, you know. So it's more like entertainment. But I did a little bit of tricking, so there was a little bit of real circus in there. But yeah, that was my role, was just to like entertain children and doing a little bit of tricking as well.
Okay. And what did you study in school, and what did you get your master's in, or I guess go to university for?
I studied something called culture and aesthetics. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. And do you utilize that degree currently, or what is your current focus right now?
A little bit. I mean, I still work with children in a cultural scenery, you could say. I work at the library here in Aarhus. So I work with different projects of, you know, getting how to get children to read, and what ways you can teach children in different ways. I'm working with something called creative learning, and then I'm also just, you know, making events at the library, so different you know, theater or all sorts of different events for children at the library. It's very, I don't really know if in the US if you have like a library culture, or what the library culture is there, but in Denmark it's very progressive. It's more like a cultural institution than it is like a place where you just go to get books. So it's a big subject, and I think we should stay out of it, because it's such a big topic that doesn't have anything to do with tricking.
Totally, man, totally. And I was just curious, just because I think a lot of people are curious, like what's going on in your life at this current time, and you're one of the few guys, like besides myself and the guys in the stunt industry, that have like an IMDb page and stuff like that. So I was able to like look up some of your credits. I also saw you were a writer on a show in 2017. Is a handball mission or something like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was also part of my study. I did this TV program with some kids that was learning to play handball, and it was some kids that was very bad at handball, or at handling a ball in every way. So they had like amount of time to get good at it, and then at the end they would face a very strong opponent. It was a very fun program. Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. No, that's just super cool. I feel like people in the community, especially like the OGs, would kill me if I didn't at least ask about your involvement in the entertainment industry. Because for a long time, like in America, people would always be like, "Oh, Rasmus Ott, he was a pop star, and now he's a tricker," you know?
Nice, funny, yeah.
Man.
I mean, I'm very normcore these days. You know, I just work at the local library. I'm just being a father. You know, I'm just doing my thing, just chilling, doing this stuff I love. I play a lot of disc golf as well. Yes. Do you know what that is?
Yes. Oh, we play in America.
That's very funny. And I play badminton sometimes, and I play, you know, paddle tennis. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Play a lot of different sports. You know, just being a normal guy in Denmark.
That's and along the lines of that, how often do you find yourself training these days? Do you still find and make time to trick, or is it something that just kind of happens sporadically?
Yeah, sporadically. I mean, I had maybe 2 sessions this summer on the grass, and right now, you know, I want some part of me want to go to the gym sometimes, but you know, everything that's going on with the COVID and stuff like that, you know, it's a little bit limited here. I mean, I could go, but it's very late. Like the training time in Denmark right now is very late, and my daughter wakes up very early in the morning, so it's also, you know, yeah. So at some point, I will maybe, you know, just come back to just train a little bit tricking, but as for now, I'm just keeping it low, just riding it low, just I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm just not in the mood for tricking right now in this place that I'm in right now, or in this period of my life that I'm in right now. But I hope that the motivation comes back to tricking in some form, not the form that I was used to, but just in some way. I have this thing that I want to be able to do a double cork when I'm the age of 40. So I need to work on that if I want that to come true.
That's super cool, man. And like, you know, for someone that's been in the community for so long, I think you deserve to take a break. And who knows, sometimes these little pauses in our training reignite a fire where later you come back. I know recently I got really inspired. This last year, all of a sudden, I jumped back on the training wagon because Bailey Payne just pulled me out of my slumber of being lazy, and I got obsessed with it. So hopefully we'll see the same, man. And you know, just before we get out of here, what advice would you have for like a youngster that wants to get into tricking? Like, do you have any advice on what they should do to start foundational wise, or as far as developing their own style, or any advice that you would give to someone in the community to save them some time?
I would say just follow your passion. I mean, follow the areas of the tricking that you're most passionate about. If you think it's very cool to flip, I think you should flip a lot when you start tricking. If you think it's very cool to kick, I think you should kick a lot, because you know you're most progressive if you're doing whatever you're really excited about. So that's the greatest advice I could give. And then also just like do your basic work as well, as don't push your body too much. That's very cliche. It's like, don't do what I did, but you know, right now, I think it's also, if you have the potential, you just want to be very quick to like release all that potential. And I think maybe if I back in the days just held a little bit back and just a little bit more steady forward, it would be better for me. But at the same time, you know, I look at all the young people and they are not holding back. They're just going hard. So at the same time, you know, if you're excited about it, if you feel it, go for it. But yeah, I don't know what's the best advice, because it's also, you know, up to the individual person. But I think follow your passion within tricking is very universal. So I think I'm gonna just stick with that.
Okay. No, I think that's great advice, man. Totally. And now before we get out of here, this is the question I always leave us on, and that I ask everyone around the community and on the JAMCast, just so we can kind of see what happens. But where do you personally see yourself 5 years from now, and where do you see yourself 10 years from now? And that can be tricking related, life related, or whatever comes to mind.
Oh man, 5 years from now, 36. My daughter is 6 years old. I am probably just the same way I am right now. Maybe I'm tricking a little bit, and maybe I just got a little bit of motivation back. Maybe I have another job than I have right now. Maybe I'm another place, or maybe I'm, you know, I'm not working as much. Maybe I have more time for my daughter, and maybe tricking a little bit more. Yeah, but not too many changes in 5 years. And I think in 10 years,
that's a common answer too.
In 10 years, that's so long, so long. I think in 10 years, maybe I have my own business in 10 years. I want to say that in 10 years, I have my own unspecific business that is leaving me a lot of free time where I can do what I want.
Okay. And hopefully you're still hitting the double corks then.
Yeah, and hopefully I'm hitting the double corks as well.
Hell yeah, man. Well, yo, I appreciate you making the time to do this, man. Like I said, you're one of the most requested guests we've had on this show. And I know that more than anything, whether it's new gen or old gen, people could take away a lot from someone like yourself that's had a huge influence. So thanks for making the time, dude.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for all the kind words. And you know, yeah, as I just told you before we started, my English is very rusty because I don't talk to English people during my daytime. So it's like only trickers that I talk English to. So I have a hard time expressing myself, but I hope that, you know, it all makes sense at some point. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Hell yeah, your English was better than half of my friends here in America. So with that being said, man, before we get out of here, can you just let people know where they can follow you and stay up to date with, you know, your journey in life?
I have an Instagram that is just Rasmus Ott, and you can go there and follow. I don't post that much right now, and it's also very tricking exclusive. But you know, if you want to follow me tricking wise, I will post there occasionally every time I trick, I promise. And then also, my YouTube, who knows, maybe there's a sampler in 10 years, my 40-year-old double cork sampler, just of me doing double cork, 10 different locations. I don't know, but subscribe to Rasmus Ott on YouTube as well.
Hell yeah, guys. Please make sure to do that. And with that being said, guys, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for brand new JAMCast, interviewing influential members of the movement community like Mr. Rasmus Ott himself. So with that being said, guys, I got to give one more special thank you to our guest this week, Ott. Thanks for coming through, man. I appreciate it.
You too.
Yeah, yes. And as always, guys, coming at you, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMCast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.